Hey everybody, welcome to this deep dive into how dogs became our best friends. You guys sent in that PBS Eons video about it.
How dogs eventually became our best friends.
Yeah, that one. It's really wild to think about that journey from wolves to the dogs we have snuggled up on the couch with us.
It really is. When you really stop and think about it, it's quite the transformation. A wild predator becoming, man's best friend.
Totally. And the video kicks off with this amazing story that's like a perfect example of all the mysteries we're going to untangle.
Oh, yeah.
Dogor. Have you heard about Dogor?
Oh, yeah, of
That's-
course. 18,000 years old.
Yes. This puppy was found frozen in Siberia, like perfectly preserved, a snapshot from the past, right? And get this, scientists are still debating whether it was a dog or a wolf.
It really highlights how hard it is to pin down, the exact moment that dogs became dogs. You see, we have genetic studies that tell us wolves and dogs started diverging genetically something like 40,000 to 27,000 years ago. But that doesn't automatically mean they were domesticated.
Wait, so I'm a little confused. I thought genetic differences meant different species, which would mean domestication.
Right.
Not-
Well, not exactly. It's a little more complicated than that.
Okay.
Think of it this way. Imagine you have a family tree. You and your fourth cousins share a common ancestor, but you've branched off in different directions over time.
Okay.
Genetic divergence is kind of like that. It just means, populations are becoming more distinct. It's like the first step.
Okay, so the genetic split is like chapter one.
Mm-hmm.
What turns those, wolf populations into dogs then?
That's where humans come in.
Right.
True domestication, involves changes in behavior and genetics that happen over generations as a species adapts to living with us. So it's more than just looking different. It's a change in their whole way of life.
Ah, I see. So the genetic divergence is like setting the stage, but then the relationship with humans directs the play.
Exactly. A perfect analogy.
Yeah.
Now, one of the leading theories about how this all got started is called the commensal pathway.
Oh, I remember them talk about that in the video.
Yeah, and it suggests that wolves, maybe the more adventurous ones, started hanging around human settlements.
Drawn in by,
Garbage. Our trash.
haha, yeah, like the original opportunistic eaters.
Uh-huh.
I can just imagine them seeing those leftover bones and thinking, score.
Exactly. And there's actually evidence to back this up.
Really?
Yeah. Scientists analyzed teeth from ancient Khmerids in the Czech Republic.
Wow.
And they found these distinct wear patterns. Some had been munching on meat, probably from hunting, while others had been gnawing on tougher stuff, most likely scraps from humans.
So it wasn't like humans were inviting these wolves over for dinner.
No.
But they were smart enough to take advantage of a new food source.
Yeah.
And I bet those bolder wolves that weren't picky eaters were the ones that really thrived. And then as time went on, humans probably started to see how useful they were too.
Yeah, absolutely. Even in those early stages, they would have been useful for guarding, hunting, maybe even a little herding. As humans, settled down and agriculture took off, dogs became even more valuable partners.
Which brings us to another piece of the puzzle that blew my mind. The video talks about how the rise of agriculture is actually reflected in dog genetics.
It really does show how our histories are intertwined.
So cool.
Yeah.
It's such a cool example.
Yeah, researchers have found this gene in dogs called AMY2B, and it helps them digest starch.
Huh?
Dogs have way more copies of this gene than wolves do,
Oh, wow.
which, makes sense when you think about how their diet changed alongside ours when we started farming. All those starchy grains.
So you're saying that by looking at a dog's genes today, we can see this imprint of early agriculture and how our diets became connected.
Exactly. It's pretty remarkable.
It is. I mean, I knew diet was important for dogs,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
but this just shows how their evolution is really tied to our own in a really, really concrete way.
But it's not just about the practical side of things. The video also touches on the emotional bond between humans and dogs. And that goes way, way back. And I think one of the best ways to see that is to look at how we treated our dogs, even in death.
Yeah, those ancient burials. It's incredible what they can tell us about that relationship. I was so fascinated by the dog they found in that Siberian cemetery, buried around 9,000 years ago, alongside humans with artifacts and signs that they'd taken care of its injuries during its life.
I mean, it really shows that these weren't just tools back then. They were truly companions.
It's so heartwarming to know that this bond we feel today has such deep roots in history. But as we move from those early days of domestication, there's another question that comes up. How do we get from those early dogs to all the incredible variety of breeds we have today?
That's a great question and a fascinating journey in itself. Maybe we should save that for part 2 of our deep dive.
Yeah, good idea.
Mm.
Let's take a break and come back to that. All right, so we've talked about how dogs have been our buddies for like thousands of years.
Mm.
But how did we go from those early dogs to all the crazy different breeds we see today, like Chihuahuas and Great Danes? They're both dogs, but totally different.
It's pretty wild when you think about it. Like, how did we get from point A to point B? Well, like most things in evolution, it's kind of a mix of natural forces and a human helping hand.
Okay.
Remember that hypersociability we were talking about before? You know, that built-in friendliness that makes dogs so good at connecting with us?
Yeah.
Well, that played a big part, even in how they look.
Wait, so you mean being friendly actually helped them change physically? I don't get it.
Okay, so think about it. As humans migrated around the world, they took their dogs with them, right? Different environments, different climates, new challenges everywhere. So natural selection would start to favor dogs with traits that help them survive in those specific places.
So like a dog up north might evolve a thick coat to stay warm, while a desert dog would be lean and better at handling the heat.
Exactly. But it's not just about fitting into the environment. As humans started using dogs for specific jobs, like hunting, herding, guarding, we started to intentionally breed the ones with the best skills.
Oh, so like a shepherd would breed dogs that were amazing at herding sheep,
Uh,
and a hunter would want a dog with a good nose and a strong prey drive. So basically, we started shaping dogs to fit our needs.
Exactly. And over generations, that selective breeding led to these distinct dog types with their own skills and appearances. But the real explosion of dog breeds as we know them today, that's a more recent thing. That's when we get to the dog show.
Ah, yes. The Victorian era,
Yeah.
when everything became a competition. Even our furry friends.
Yeah, pretty much. The Victorians, especially in Britain, were obsessed with dog breeding.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Kennel clubs were founded, dog shows became super popular.
Wow.
It was all about showing off different breeds and setting standards for how they should look and act.
So basically, dog shows were like the original influencers.
Yeah.
Telling everyone what the perfect dog should look like. I can just picture all those perfectly groomed dogs strutting their stuff.
Haha. In a way, yes, breeders really focused on refining existing broods and creating new ones. And often they prioritized aesthetics and pedigree over function, which led to the incredible diversity we see today.
Wow, from the wrinkly bulldog to the Afghan hound with that amazing flowing coat. It's crazy how far we've come.
It is, and it's a testament to how much humans have shaped dog evolution, sometimes intentionally, sometimes accidentally.
But there can be downsides to that, too.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
While all this variety is amazing, we have to acknowledge that sometimes focusing too much on a certain look can have a negative impact on a dog's health.
Yeah, like those breeds with smushed faces that have trouble breathing or those prone to certain genetic conditions.
Exactly. It's a reminder that even with the best intentions we have to be responsible for their well-being.
Definitely. So we've talked about how dogs got here. But what of the future? I mean, technology is changing so fast, our lifestyles are changing. How will that affect our canine companions?
That's a really interesting question to consider. We've seen how adaptable dogs are over thousands of years. But now we're in this era where things are changing faster than ever.
It's like trying to predict what the next big song will be. Nobody really knows.
Exactly. We're already seeing things like designer dog breeds and gene editing. Could we see dogs tailored for super specific roles in our lives? Like a dog bred for a tiny apartment.
It sounds kind of sci-fi.
It does. Imagine hypoallergenic dogs for people with allergies, or dogs with enhanced senses for search and rescue, or even medical detection. It's all developing so fast.
It's amazing. But it also makes you think about the ethics. Where do we draw the line? Between wanting a dog that fits our lifestyle perfectly and respecting their natural instincts and well-being.
That's a crucial point. We have to be careful. As we get more and more control over their genetics, we need to proceed cautiously and think about the long-term consequences.
For sure. It's like finding that balance between scientific progress and making sure these amazing animals are happy and healthy.
And it's not just about genetics. Our lifestyles are evolving too, like the rise of city living and how that impacts dog ownership.
Right. Apartment-friendly breeds are already super popular. But what if that trend keeps going?
It's definitely possible. Space is becoming so valuable in urban areas, and more people are working from home, so having a dog that thrives indoors becomes even more important.
Makes sense. But then what about those traditional roles dogs have played? Like working dogs and service dogs. Could automation and AI change or even replace those roles?
It's a possibility, but I actually think it's more likely we'll see a shift toward more specialized roles. So instead of dogs being replaced, they might actually be enhanced by technology, becoming even more effective at what they do.
So imagine like a dog working with a drone for search and rescue, Or a dog trained to help people with disabilities navigate smart homes,
Yeah.
like combining the best of both worlds.
Exactly. And who knows what other possibilities are out there. But with all this talk about technology and changing roles, there's one thing I think will always stay the same:
What's that?
the human-dog bond. That deep connection that's been forged over thousands of years. No matter how much we change their genetics or how much our lives change, dogs will always be our companions, our furry family.
I love that. It's nice to know that no matter what happens in the future, that special bond will always be there. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought. We've explored the past, present, and even the potential future of dogs. But ultimately, it's up to us how this relationship continues to evolve. We have to honor these incredible animals that are such a big part of our lives.
It's a great point. The story of dog domestication is still being written, and it's our responsibility to make sure it's a story of mutual respect, care, and that amazing bond we share.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us on this journey through time. And until next time, keep those tails wagging. All right, so we've gone from those early days of domestication all the way to modern dog breeds. But now I want to talk about something even more wild: the future of dogs.
Yeah, where do we go from here? It's such an interesting question. We've seen how dogs have evolved over thousands of years, but things are changing so rapidly now. Technology, our lifestyles, everything.
Right, it's like trying to predict what the next big thing will be. No one really knows. But I mean, we're already seeing things like designer dog breeds gene editing. I mean, is it possible that we'll start seeing dogs that are like tailored for specific roles, even more than we already have?
I think it's definitely a possibility. I mean, imagine hypoallergenic dogs for people with allergies, or dogs with enhanced senses for search and rescue or medical detection.
Wow. Yeah, like a superpowered dog.
Exactly. And the science is moving so fast, who knows what's possible?
It's amazing. But it also kind of makes me wonder about the ethical side of it all. Where's the line between wanting a dog that fits our lifestyle perfectly and, making sure we're respecting them as animals?
Absolutely. I think that's a crucial point that we can't ignore. As we get more control over their genetics, we need to be very thoughtful about the long-term consequences.
Yeah, we don't want to end up creating problems down the line just because we can.
Exactly. It's a balance, between scientific progress and the welfare of these animals.
It's like the classic Spider-Man quote, "With great power comes great responsibility."
Right. And it's not just about genetics. Our lifestyles are changing too. Think about how many people live in cities now.
Yeah, more and more all the time.
Exactly. So I think we could see even more emphasis on apartment-friendly breeds as space becomes even more limited.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so many people work from home now.
Hmm.
So having a dog that does well in smaller spaces is going to be even more important.
Right. But then you also have to think about the traditional roles dogs have filled, working dogs, service dogs. I mean, with AI and automation becoming more and more common, what happens to them?
I was just thinking about that. Could those roles become less important? Or could they even disappear?
It's possible, but honestly, I think it's more likely that those roles will just evolve. Maybe instead of being replaced, they'll actually be enhanced by technology, become even better partners.
Oh, I see. So like instead of search and rescue dog, we have a search and rescue dog working alongside a drone.
Exactly. Or a dog that's trained to help people with disabilities navigate a smart home. It's about using technology to make them even more effective.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Combining the best of both worlds. So we've talked about a lot of possibilities, but who knows what the future really holds for dogs?
No one knows for sure. It's exciting to think about.
It is, but with all this talk about genetics and changing roles and technology, there's one thing I think will always be at the heart of it all:
I think I know what you're going to say.
the human-dog bond.
Exactly. That incredible connection that we've built with them over thousands of years.
No matter how much we tinker with their genes or how much our lives change, they'll always be our companions, our furry family members.
Right. I completely agree. It's reassuring to know that no matter what happens, that bond will endure. It's pretty special.
It really is. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave everyone with one final question to think about. We've explored so much about dogs, their past, present, even their future. But the most important thing is how we move forward as humans. How do we shape this relationship in a way that honors these incredible animals that have become such a huge part of our lives?
That's a great question and something I think we all need to consider. We have a responsibility to make sure it's a positive story, one of mutual respect, care, and that enduring bond we share.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us on this journey exploring the world of dogs. And until next time, keep those tails wagging.